Welcome back to the Messy Friendship Lessons podcast. Woo! Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026, friends. And as is becoming a bit of our tradition, I have the New Year episode for you guys. I've given you 24 friendship rules for 2024, 5 hard truths for 2025. Today, I bring to you 6 friendship lies that must die in 2026. So, at the end of 2025, I found out that someone I love was grieving our friendship, and I had no idea. I was shocked, felt a little blindsided because I found out through a mutual friend. And then shortly after speaking to this mutual friend, I think it was a week later, my grandpa passed away, and I was thrust into another level of shock and grief that I'm still grappling with. And so it meant that I got to the end of 2025 and I had a mixed set of emotions towards friendship because the end of 2025 left me a bit jaded about friendships and emotionally exhausted, if I'm honest, which was such a contrast to how I felt for most of the year. But the silver lining in all of it was that in the midst of grief, I was forced to confront and address some beliefs that I had on friendship and I operated on that were lies. I had accepted them as truths, but they were lies. I think it's a bit polarizing. I'm just realizing I gave you truths in 2025 and now I'm coming with lies in 2026. I think this episode is really important because these lies sound like wisdom. They sound like truth. They sound like the mature and grown take on friendship, the adult take, how adults would do friendship. They present themselves as emotionally intelligent and wise, but these lies are not wisdom. Each of these lies slowly erode intimacy in friendship. Some of these lies I learned from society. Some of these lies I learned from my own personal experience. And some of these lies were wrongly taught to me by others. But it's time to dispel them. I want to dispel them for myself and for you. Literally, you are under spells, people, and I'm ready to break them. So let's dive deep into these 6 lies. Lie number 1: expecting to see or speak to my friends regularly is high maintenance. Now, this is a lie that I believed because of society and our current culture. You all know my takes on low maintenance friendship. I think low maintenance friendships are actually acquaintances, and that has been completely miscategorized. But because of all the discourse about low maintenance friendship that I've consumed online, I began to think that I was a high maintenance friend for expecting to see my friends or speak to them regularly. But I no longer believe this, and I unsubscribe from that because I've come to realize those are really basic expectations for friendship. And I think a lot of people would agree with me. And I think a lot of people would find it crazy that I feel the need to say this, but I did believe it. I was at a get together a couple weeks ago and I was speaking to these 2 guys about this topic. I told them I had a podcast on friendship and one of them raised this as a question. And I was like, oh my gosh, great. I have so much to say. The first one was talking about hyper individualism and how he really thinks it is to blame for this push for friendships to exist without any effort because everyone's busy and everyone has their own lives and we are all self-reliant. There is no need for other people or community. In fact, it feels like an extra effort. And immediately he said that, the other guy goes, this is all because of capitalism. And I know some people may roll their eyes at that, but I think it's a sound argument. Okay. I know amongst our generation, capitalism seems to be the new intellectual talking point. But hear me out, guys. I think he had a great point. So, for example, time scarcity. In a capitalist society, you are spending long hours at work. A lot of us are. And add on top of that, you are spending long hours commuting. You're tired from work. You're tired from commuting. You're tired from carrying your own emotions and feelings and being self reliant. You're tired from family pressures or pressures from the people you live with. It then feels like a whole other emotional labor to invest in your friendships. And so, to a person who feels that way, it's like, oh my gosh, why are you messaging me? Why are you bothering me? Why can't friendship just be, you know, I love you. I know you love me. If you ever need me, I'll be there. Otherwise, we don't need to text. We don't need to see each other. We don't even need to call. I'll see you once a year. Let's just keep it at that. The love is still there. But friendship isn't just about the love being. Friendship is about doing life together. I will die on that hill. And I think people defend this position by often quoting the saying that says, you know, I could go ages without seeing or speaking to my friend. And when we meet again, it is like no time has passed and everything is the same. And that is beautiful. And I have definitely experienced that. In fact, there are a lot of friendships where that is the case and that is my experience. And those are my long distance friendships. I'm pretty sure the person who came up with that saying was talking about long distance friendships. It was talking about friendships where we're separated by distance, land, and sea. And so we naturally go a long time without seeing each other. But when we meet again, that love is still there. Amy, who you all know, she was on an episode. I saw her this summer after not seeing her for over a year, or I think almost 2 years. And we had dinner together and it really was like no time passed. We just flowed. We spoke about everything. We were older and different, but it was all still the same and the love is all still there and it's so beautiful. I literally grew up with this girl, so it would be impossible for that not to still be there. That being said, I have friends who I spend time with consistently in London and I do life with. Similarly, she has friends that she spends time with and consistently does life with on the other side of the world, right? I think that quote is a celebration of the fact that distance does not destroy friendship and that the love doesn't die. It is not a crutch to hide behind putting low effort into your friendships. Because when we are in the same city, me and my long distance friends, we make sure we see each other and we spend a lot of time together. For example, when Justine came, I hadn't seen Justine in years and the love was still there. The way we were joking and kicking and laughing, it was like we were 13 again. I kid you not. I saw her 3 times. She was in London for a week and I saw her 3 times. Okay. I think people are using and abusing that quote and applying it to all their friendships and shaming people for expecting or asking for effort from them. I think the danger of when I subscribe to this lie is that I would adjust my expectations for friends. I will no longer do that. I think it was a disservice to myself. And so it is a lie that is dying in 2026. Lie number 2. Not everything that bothers me needs to be addressed. I believed this lie for way too long. I used to be the biggest pick your battles girl. I'm pretty sure I've promoted it a lot of times in this podcast. So there were times that a friend would do something that bothered me or I didn't like. And for whatever reason, I would choose not to address it. Maybe I waited up and thought, it has bothered me, but it's not that big of a deal that I want to go through the process of addressing it. I'm just going to leave it and take it for what it was. This is who they are. This is how they move, and change how I deal with them accordingly. And I have done that not once, not twice, but a couple times. And I thought that was fine. I didn't really see a huge problem with operating like that until the shoe was on the other foot and someone did that to me. And I felt so unfairly treated and misjudged and misunderstood. I felt, why didn't you just come and talk to me about this if it bothered you? Because this was just a misunderstanding. What you understood the situation to be was false. And now you've moved forward with it as if it's truth and you've changed how you've treated me. And I hated it. And it really made me realize, oh my gosh, how many people have I done that to? Okay, I'm going to give an example to better explain what I'm saying. So let's say you're going on a trip with your friend. You fill in the blank. Insert where you're going, whether you want to be going to Marrakesh or Miami or Puerto Rico. You're going on a trip with your friend and you get to the airport and realize you left your charger at home. And you say to your friend, oh my gosh, I left my chargers for my phone and my laptop. Please, can I use yours while we're on the trip? And they say, oh my gosh, of course, we're friends. It's fine. Let's get on the plane. Let's go. So you get on the plane, you get to your destination. And a couple days later, you overhear your friend on the phone. And on the phone, your friend is ranting about disorganized people. She's like, I just hate it when people are disorganized. They mess it up for everyone else. And then everyone else is responsible for looking after them and fixing it. And it's just so emotionally tasking. And I'm just so over it. Okay. You hear that and you're like, whoa, is she talking about me? Because I left my charger and she's having to share hers with me. And so you conclude from that conversation that she is talking about you. Or even if she's not directly talking about you, it is indirectly about you because you left your stuff and maybe she perceives that as disorganized. And that's how she feels about you as a friend, that she is having to carry your weight and clean up after you, right? That is what you hear and perceive from that conversation. But you decide, look, I'm not going to address it. One holiday together. I want us to have fun. Let's just move forward. But when we get home, I'm not really going to be that close to this girl because I think that is just unreasonable. I think that's unfair. And I think she's really judgy for judging me for leaving something or forgetting something. But the truth of the matter is, your friend was on the phone speaking about a family problem where she had to pay money and cover a family member. And it's something that she has had to do repeatedly over and over again. And so she was ranting to someone about this family issue. Oh my gosh, this story is so creative. Wow, my brain. I should write books, honestly. So that is the truth of the matter. Having a friend do that to me where they moved forward with an impression that they had based on something I did that upset them, whereas the truth of the matter was something completely different. And similarly, in my case, had nothing to do with them. It really made me question all the times that I had done the exact same thing. Was there a truth of the situation that I didn't see and didn't give the other person a chance to explain by picking my battles? So having it happen to me was a wake up call that, hey, this is not the best way to handle situations like this. And so moving forward, I've agreed with myself that I will address things if it bothers me and if it will change how I will operate, engage, or view someone that I am friends with. Because I felt completely misjudged and I felt that there was distance created as a result of these misconceptions. So I will be raising and addressing things. And in addressing things, I will then gauge and confirm or deny if what I've perceived has happened is what actually happened. And I know some of you are thinking, but some people lie when you address things with them. They twist the truth and change it, and they know what they did. Great. If that is the case, you will be able to discern and tell. I do think this has highlighted to me the difference between discernment and avoidance. And I think sometimes picking your battles is massively about avoidance, because once we stop addressing the things that bother us, we don't become more peaceful, we become more distant. Which takes me on to lie number 3. All feelings are valid. This was a hard one to confront, is a lie, because I was a big believer that all feelings are valid. The truth is, all feelings are real, but not all feelings are valid. Look, our feelings are real. My feelings are real. Your feelings are real. You felt it. It was your lived experience. You went through that emotional journey. You felt like that really truly happened to you. That is real and cannot be disputed because you truly experienced it. However, just because we felt it does not mean it is accurate or complete. When we say something is valid, it means that it has a sound basis in logic or facts. Our feelings do not always have a sound basis in logic and fact. If you think about the example I gave earlier of the two friends, the one who left their charger and the one who was on the phone going through family issues, complaining about disorganized people. The friend who overheard the conversation and assumed it was about her, that friend's feelings are real. She felt that way. She felt the betrayal. She felt the shock. She felt the embarrassment. She felt the shade that was supposedly being thrown her way. She went through all those emotions and they were real. But her feelings were not valid. That was not what was happening. She wasn't being talked about. She wasn't being shamed. Shade wasn't being thrown at her. In fact, it was furthest from the truth. Her friend was speaking about something entirely different. And there is a difference between feelings and facts. And for that reason, I had to come to grips with the fact that not everything I feel is valid. Not every feeling is valid. And I, in conflict resolution, do not have to validate every feeling another person has. I can recognize how you had felt. I can sympathize with it. I can recognize it as real, but I do not have to validate it, especially if it is not based in fact or logic. I do not need to affirm that. And I also need to be careful with my feelings, that I am not carrying forward every feeling I have towards a friend and a situation as true. Sometimes we have to go through a journey from emotional awareness to emotional authority. The beauty of the openness in conversations about mental health and emotions is that a lot of us are now in the emotional awareness category. We understand our feelings and we understand why we feel them, but we need to then make that journey over to emotional authority. Let's say your friend did something that made you really angry. Emotional awareness is knowing, hey, I am angry right now, and I'm angry because you did X, Y, and Z. Emotional authority is sitting in that anger, waiting for the anger to dissipate so that you can see the clarity and truth of a situation and make a sound decision that is not distorted by your heightened emotions. So that is what emotional authority is. It is having authority over your emotions. And so in exploring and reflecting on all of this, I no longer hold that belief. All feelings are real, all feelings are felt, all feelings can be voiced, but not all feelings are valid, not all feelings deserve a platform, and not all feelings need to be accepted as truth. Lie number 4, it's my job to save my friends from their bad decisions. I didn't realize how much I was operating under this lie. I really thought I was a live and let live type of friend, but I realized this year as friends came to me or consulted me about decisions or choices or things that were happening in their lives, I went into advice mode. I had a million and one things to say. And a lot of my friends do say to me, oh, you're so wise, you give me such great advice. But I think I can sometimes take it a step further and literally want to shake you and be like, girl, wake up. You're under spells, people. Come on. This is a bad decision. Don't make it. But I realize that is not my job. I cannot save everyone. I cannot force you to make a decision. At the end of the day, as friends, when we're doing life together, our lives are parallel to each other. They are not literally intertwined. And so I need to let you live out your life and make the decisions that you want to make. Also, in reflecting on this, I thought about something my mom has always told me. When people give advice, it is always a little selfish. And it's not selfish as per like greed selfish. It's more so a lot of our advice comes from self. Within any advice I would give you, it is laced with my own experience, my own perceptions of life, my own perceptions of you, which may be correct or incorrect. It is laced with my own fears. It is laced with my own judgments. It is laced with my belief systems. And so the advice we hear from others, she's always told me, weigh up any advice you get from people, eat the flesh and spit out the bones, like you would with fish. Don't take everything as truth and move forward with every piece of advice. And as much as it applies to receiving advice, it's important to remember when giving advice and making a judgment on how another person or your friend is choosing to live their life, what I may deem as a bad decision, to some extent, that is just my perception and opinion. It may not be a bad decision. It may just be a decision that I wouldn't make for myself. No one can see the future. We don't necessarily know how every decision would pan out. And I think it's important to remember that. But you can't also save your friends. People need to learn certain lessons by themselves and go through certain things by themselves. There's certain decisions that I made this year that some of my friends don't necessarily agree with, and they may deem bad decisions, or they may see it as me holding myself back in a certain area. But let your friends make their bad decisions. They will learn it as part of life, failing, making mistakes. And I think with every situation, we hope that we're wrong. We hope that we are wrong and this truly isn't a bad decision. And it pans out so differently than we perceive because we want the best for them. And I am there to be a shoulder to cry on if it comes to that, or a supporting hand. And if you truly feel like a friend is making too many bad decisions for you to deal with, and it seems like a whirlpool of chaos, then you can make the decision that you're not interested in friendship anymore. Because I also think it's a dangerous place to be in when you're friends with someone that you do not think highly of. If you think your friend is chaotic and they're always making poor decisions and you're like, what are they doing with their life? I don't think you should be friends with anyone you view through that lens, because it is highly likely that you do not respect them. You don't respect their decisions, and you don't like how they live their life, and you are not on the same page. And friendship is like-mindedness. I admire all my friends that I have today. May not agree with every single decision they make, but I definitely respect them and I look up to them, and I don't hold that viewpoint of what are you doing with your life. So I don't think it's your job to save your friends from their bad decisions. On to lie number 5. Friends are naturally bad at showing up for you when you are grieving. I have believed this lie for a long time. It started when I first lost someone I was close to, and it became cemented after each death I've experienced of somebody I was close to. Now, I've experienced grief and death around me, especially from sickness, a lot, but there have been 3 deaths that really affected me, and I really felt the loss, because these 3 people were people I was close to. Most importantly, people that I had envisioned in my future. I had envisioned in my 2026, right? I would have hoped that they would still be here at this time. And so not only am I grieving the loss of them, but it's the loss of the future memories that I envisioned sharing with them. The first was my shosho, the second was my auntie Timmy, and the third being my grandpa. Now, everyone deals with grief their own way. I definitely deal with it in isolation, and I think that contributes to part of the reason why this lie got cemented in the first place. I don't share my grief widely or with many people. And so when my auntie passed, I told, I think, 3 friends or like 4 friends. And one of the friends I told was one of my best friends at the time, who I lived with. And after I told them, they weren't there for me at all. Like, that's the harsh truth of it. I don't know a prettier way to put it. They were not there for me at all. I felt like I was on my own. It did feel like they avoided me after the fact, which I did speak to them post that, and it wasn't the case that they were necessarily avoiding me. They thought they were giving me space, and they didn't know what the right thing was to say. But it didn't change the fact that I was very isolated and I was not supported. And whereas I don't even know what support I needed or wanted or to see, but feeling completely avoided and alone was not it. And so I think that eroded in me any expectation for friends to be there for you when you grieve. And it cemented this belief that friends suck at being there for you when you grieve. Because when my shosho died, I was a teenager, I was much younger. And that really hit me. And it wasn't like I had loads of support from friends. And so I think years later, when my auntie passed, it just cemented that thought. And so when grandpa passed away, I did not tell many people. I think I told three people. I told my best friend. I told one of my friends who really liked my grandpa. She knew I did a podcast episode with him and I had spoken to her a lot about it. And she would always ask after him and ask how he is. So I told her. And then I told the friend that I had just recently seen and had spoken to about my grandpa. And she said she will pray for him. So I told three people. And during this, I completely shied away from opening up to any other friends about it or even discussing it. In fact, I ended up having to tell other friends because I was canceling on plans and I needed to explain why I was canceling on plans or why I didn't want to meet up or why I couldn't do something. And so it led to me having to tell more people. I think because I was bottling so much up, I remember being at dinner with some of my friends who didn't know. And I was just telling a story and talking about something, but it made me think of grandpa. And sorry, I don't want to cry in this episode, so I need to take a beat. Yeah, it made me think of grandpa, and I ended up bursting out crying at dinner randomly. And it was so embarrassing because not that I think crying is embarrassing, it was so embarrassing just randomly crying, especially when you didn't mean to or you're avoiding talking about something. But they were all so nice and lovely about it. In fact, one of my friends who I thought was so sweet of her, and I really appreciate, even after the fact, after I told them, okay, I'm crying because of this, but I don't want to talk about it, reached out to me afterwards, like, I know you don't want to talk about it, but like, I'm here for you when you do. And I haven't reached out to her, but, I know she listens to the podcast. So if you see this, you know who you are, but I really love and appreciate you for that because it made me feel supported, loved, and seen in that moment and not alone. And I think believing this truth, I've done a disservice to myself because it's not true. Friends do not suck at being there for you when you grieve. Because, for example, when Grandpa died, Jack, who you all know because she's been on the podcast with us, has just been so amazing, in calling me, in creating space for me to speak about it when I want. She sent me a beautiful bouquet of flowers and a lovely card when she found out that I really, really appreciated. And she's been an amazing friend and someone I can open up to during that time. Another one of my friends, the one that asked after him a lot, she has literally one from when she found out, she would message me every day, like check in every morning. Every morning I woke up, I knew I would have a text from this girl, checking in on me, calling me, asking me, how am I feeling today? To the point where I was like, oh my gosh, And again, we are miles apart. Literally, we don't live in the same country, but was making an effort and showing up so consistently to be there. And I think back onto when my auntie passed. Yes, the friends I initially told and the ones who I was looking for support from weren't there. But then because I was so down, I ended up crying to two other people that I lived with. And I can't remember what happened that day, but we had come back from something and we were just like opening up to each other and talking to each other about life. And I was like, I haven't told you guys this, but the past month I've really been down and sad and been locking myself in my room because this is what's happened. And I just cried and I was like, I've told, some of my friends, but I don't feel like anyone's there for me. And this is just so really hard. And I cried to them and they really hugged and embraced me and, tried to draw me out and then be there for me. Like, be like, come downstairs, watch a show, like, give me hugs, comfort me, be there for me. I remember one of the girls, like, I'm not friends with her anymore, not because anything happened, but that's a completely different story. She used to do these HelloFresh deliveries. She like went, made me food and brought it up to my room because I also had exams around the time. Brought it up to my room and was like, here, like I made you some food. And I didn't ask her to make me dinner, but she noticed I didn't eat and brought me something. And I think it's important to remember all those little things. I think I'd become so clouded by the disappointment I had felt from some friends that I cemented and believed this lie. Even when I was reflecting on all of this and I was thinking of when Shusha passed, I actually have a vivid memory of me crying on the floor of my dorm and Justine hugging me and comforting me and rubbing my back and trying to be there for me. And so I think I think this is a lie, and it's a lie I've believed for too long. And the danger of this lie is it's held me back from being vulnerable and open and sharing my grief with friends because I fear the disappointment that they wouldn't be there for me because I experienced that in a couple people. But the truth is, friends don't suck at being there for you when you grieve. Some people do, and it's not necessarily their fault. They're not bad people because they don't know how to handle grief. I think grief is difficult for some people to wrap their heads around, especially if they haven't experienced the loss of someone that they were close to. And it's something that eventually everyone will come to understand. We will all, it's inevitable. The older you get, the more people you'll meet and love, and you will see pass on. And so, eventually people will get better at dealing with it and handling it and being there for people. I don't even think I'm the most amazing friend in handling and carrying other people's grief. I don't know. I do plan to do an episode about grief and friendship because I think it's an important conversation to be had. And also, I think one thing that's really helped dispel this lie is just seeing how my parents' friends have rallied around them with the loss of grandpa, because I lost a grandfather, but a parent was lost, which I think is a grief that is so heavy and can be difficult to bear. And just seeing how, my parents' friends and even my auntie's friends just rallied around them and have supported them and shown up for them has just proved to me that it's not true. Friends don't naturally suck at being there for you when you grieve. It requires you being vulnerable and sharing your grief. And sometimes some people will let you down, but sometimes some people will really step up to the plate and show up for you. And in my grief, I've had friends reach out. I've had friends call me. I've had friends check in on me and let me know that they are there for me. And I've decided to be more open and share that. And those who show up will, and those who don't won't. And that's okay. I don't need to take some negative experiences and apply it to all friendship as a whole. I do myself a disservice by not leaning on people or giving people the chance to show up and be there for me. It's also not the total picture because I have been loved and supported in grief. And even that friend who wasn't great the first time, I remember the following year at the anniversary of my auntie's passing, they came and they showed up with gifts and flowers and really made an effort to be there for me. And that did not go unnoticed. And so I hold no ill will. But I had to talk about it to explain how that lie became so cemented in the first place. But it is one I no longer believe because I've seen how people have shown up in their own little way for me. And I've seen how people have shown up so amazingly for my parents and my aunties. And I think there's definitely a culture conversation there because in Nigerian culture, or maybe I should say Yoruba culture, the way people show up for you when you've lost someone is so beautiful. They show up with money, they show up with time, they come to your house and they visit you. They really come pay their respects and try to support and uphold you through grief. It's a beautiful thing. And so, yeah, my mind has changed. I think some people suck at being there for you when you grieve. Lastly, lie number 6. Forgiving quietly and saying nothing is the same as seeking peace. Mm, guilty. I feel like God has been teaching me what it truly means to seek peace with all men, seek peace with everyone this year. I think in conflict resolution, I was good at raising things, but if I didn't feel heard or I felt that you didn't deserve conversation, I would just go away and forgive you quietly. I would ask God, God, help me forgive this person. I just want to move past it. I don't want to carry this. I don't want it on my conscience. And I also want to seek peace with all people. So I'm just going to forgive them and move on and let it go. But this year, God has been teaching me how that is not seeking peace, that is keeping peace. And the funny thing about keeping peace is it is always a false sense of peace. It is not true peace. It is just avoidance. So in the summer, I had a disagreement with someone and I felt like we'd had the same argument over and over again. And each time we had this argument, I would go away and be like, okay, I'm just going to let it go and I'm going to forgive them and I'm going to move on. But it kept coming up. And I remember after having this argument with them, I went away again and I was like, God, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of feeling like this. I'm sick of feeling this pit in my stomach. I just need your help. I need your help to forgive them and move on because I want to be at peace with them. I don't want no drama. And as I was praying about it, the scripture about seeking peace with all men came to remembrance. And I was like, yes, okay, I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to seek peace. And I felt God tell me no. Like, that's not how it works. That's not how seeking peace works. And I thought the scripture that says, if you have an issue with your brother, God says, don't come to me, don't come before me, don't come and worship. Go to your brother and confess the issue you have and sort it out. And if they will not listen to you, go and bring a mediator. And if they will still not listen to you, go and bring more people, go and bring elders. It signified to me that God is so insistent on us sorting things out with people, on not sweeping things under the rug, on not leaving things as they should be, or silently dealing with them and forgiving them, or false senses of peace. Seeking peace is an active thing you do. And later on, I was speaking to my sister and she put it in those words. She said, seeking peace is active, it's not passive. And so this caused a complete mindset shift for me and a behavior shift for me. So concerning the person I was having disagreements with, I went back to them and I was like, look, I don't like this. Let's sort it out. What's wrong? Like, we need to get to the bottom of this because this is not fair. Like, I don't feel fairly treated. I do feel wronged by. And we were able to sort it out. And I realized after the second conversation, I felt lighter in a way I didn't realize I was carrying something. And I think the danger with keeping peace with friendships is it creates distance. When we choose to keep peace instead, we may forgive, we may move on, we may come to terms with something, but it creates distance and we still carry that pain in some way. There is still a heaviness, a pit in your stomach. And I didn't realize I was carrying that till I had the conversation with that person and it was released. And so going into the end of the year, where I had that situation with a friend, I actually ended up being the person to seek them out, which goes against this concept of just forgiving quietly. When I had been told by our mutual friend how this friend was feeling, their understanding of the version of events, I was like, this is warped. This has come out of nowhere. If you have a problem with me, you should come speak to me. I'm going to forgive them and just move past it, but I'm not going to address it. Right. And then I was reminded of what I've been learning this whole year. Seeking peace with people is active, it is not passive. You feel wronged by it, you feel hurt by how things have played out. Go to your brother, go to your friend and seek peace. Sort it out with them. And so that's what I did. I went to them and I sought peace. And in that, there was also a lot of discovery that the way I was seeing things was not the total picture. And there was a lot more going on than I was even aware of. So, yeah, goodbye to forgiving quietly and making peace with things and just moving past it. I don't think that is the same as seeking peace. I think that's keeping peace, and it will always be a false sense of peace. When you actually head on address things with people, sometimes you may have a great resolution, sometimes you won't, but I assure you, you will feel lighter because I felt lighter. Once it was out on the open and I confessed that this is still a problem and I brought it to them, it was a release of that way. I wasn't pretending or trying to convince myself that I would be at peace with them or I could just process it on my own. It is something that required me bringing it to another person. And so, yeah, I think seeking peace and keeping peace are very different. Keeping peace says, let's not rock the boat, let's not bring it up, let's avoid talking about it, let's make peace with it ourselves so that we don't have to have that difficult conversation, or we're scared to have that conversation, or we don't think there's any point to having that conversation. Whereas seeking peace says, let's have that conversation, let's open the door, let's give grace, let's put our pride aside, and let us truly be at peace with people. And that concludes lie number 6. These are the 6 lies that must die in 2026. I am no longer moving forward with any of these friendship lies. I am ready to unlearn, I am ready to bury, and I'm ready to move different in the new year. If you currently believe any of these lies or subscribe to it, and I happen to change your mind, DM me, let's talk about it, let's share and swap our experiences. If you currently believe any of these lies, but you don't think they're lies, let's talk about that too. I'm always open to hearing a different perspective and viewpoint. But thank you for listening to this episode. Pray you have an amazing new year, and I pray your 2026 is way better than your 2025. I pray for a lot of joy and beauty to come out of friendship. And if there are any friendship breakups or hard conversations that need to be had, I pray that God gives you peace and comforts you through them. Because I know a lot of people went through friendship breakups in 2025. I kept seeing a lot of posts online about 2025 being the year of the snake, which I don't think I subscribe to that belief, but the idea was you're shedding all these past people. I don't know how comfortable I feel with viewing other people as just skin to be shed. They are people in and of themselves, but yeah, a lot of people have lost friends. So for that reason, I hope that 2026 brings new friendships, it brings joy in friendships, and it brings resolution and mending where that is needed. I will be doing an episode on grief and friendship, delving into that deeper with a guest. I will be doing an episode on expectations and friendship and delving into that deeper with a guest. So if you want to hear more about that, or you have specific questions or things you need advice on, DM Messy Friendship Lessons on TikTok, on Instagram. I will definitely respond and get back to you and make sure to include it in the episode. So make sure to like, follow, or subscribe wherever you are listening. Give this podcast a rating, leave a comment, leave a review, message me your feedback and thoughts, and I will speak to you guys in the next episode. I love you. God bless you. Bye.